Hello, I am Nova SC, and this is going to be another one of my tutorial videos. This one's going to be on a particularly special build to me. It's a PvP build. I struggle with PvP the most, and this has been particularly useful for me. It's taught me a lot about the matchup, a lot about how to play PvP in the late game as well. It's a macro build, and the best way to describe it is it's basically a one-gate expand, but it's so good. Ever since I've seen it, I first saw it. I saw a variant of it first when I was playing in an ESL tournament, and I got steamrolled by this build. It was less refined than I have it now, and what the guy did was one gate expand, added on a second gate and a robo. So he made basically he makes lots of gateway units to defend an expansion early on, with an emphasis on sentries. The first few units he makes are sentries, which helps him against 4-gate. He can just cancel off his base and survive on one base with the sentries. And with later aggression he has tons of gateway units, so he's fine. But now, things have gotten a bit more refined. Last year, State, a very good Protoss player, very soon after the release of Heart of the Swarm, played around with getting sentries very early, getting the mothership core very early, and with just a few units expanding and getting a robo early, which gives him a lot of tech and economy, and it's a very strong opener. And the reason I like using this build is because, well, I'm going to explain it in more depth later, but basically, no matter what your opponent does, you're going to have something to fall back on. You're going to have either technology or some sort of economical advantage. So this is a really good build, and I'm going to jump into myself playing the build out, and then in my own lovely fashion I'm going to give you an example of me doing the build against a real human on ladder. Okay, so here I am going into Zonarka Caverns, everyone's favourite game of choice, and hearing some nice stereo sounds from that victory screen. But I'm not actually against any AI or anything, because that just gets in the way. I'm just going to show you the build. Thought that'd be a nice way to demonstrate it. So nothing's going to interfere. I'm going to be able to do this perfectly, assuming I don't make any mistakes. And I've done it enough to not make any mistakes, so it should be fine. So everything is going to be shockingly standard. To an amount, it will be hard to talk about anything because everything's sort of self-explanatory. But 9 pylon, 13 gateway, 2 gases on 15, which I've done for years, and gonna rally off the Nexus as much as possible. I'm going for economy here, sort of. I have to cut probes a bit to get gateways out, but it's sort of a compromise between getting tech and economy. And anything you don't get is units. So chrono boosting all on the Nexus. We use 1 chrono boost on the Stalker when it comes out, and the chrono boost is very helpful in dealing with proxy void rays. Just a rallied mothership core, they're quite hard to deal with. So chrono boosting the first Stalker that you get is very useful. Other than that, yeah, all on the Nexus. See, I'm rallying as much as I can. The Pylon you can rally to. On maps where cheese is really likely, you want to scout like just before this, but otherwise just scout after the second Pylon, or maybe the Cybernetics Core. Just check around to look for cannons and things. Cannons obviously going to be very hard to deal with. Proxies not so much, but I want to be careful. Queue up that Zealot on 19 and cancel it just before it's finished, unless a couple Zealots walk in, or just one Zealot walks in. No point in having a Zealot if your opponent just leaves their Zealot at home. You're not going to get anything done with a Zealot. 22 pylon. Probably could throw a chrono down now. I'm going to do that. I still have a chrono. More than enough chronos ready. I did tell a lie. I think chrono boosting the first sentry is quite a good idea. Also if you chrono boost the first sentry out, if they see that, they're going to think you're getting a stalker, and scouts are likely to get the hell out of there. So yeah, chrono boost on this sentry and the first stalker. I didn't write any of this down. I'm just doing it from feel, sort of thing, like because I've done it so much. This is a really old map. They don't have the little bricks down there. Oh, damn! Forgot the military core. But yeah, military core after the first sentry. I mean, after the 16th probe on minerals, which would make 3, 6. The 22nd probe. Yeah, after the 22nd probe. Yes. Being really careful that that's the right number. Yeah, 22nd probe. We get a mothership core. Chrono boosting it. That's the stalker, as I said. Gonna get a robo down. You can get the robo like a little bit earlier, after the second sentry, and before the first stalker actually. And now 2 gateways, a pylon, and everything's good. Chrono is very useful. You can see that this is quite late into the game. Like, you could have a void ray now, you could have an oracle now. Oracles often pop up, so chrono boost on that stalker is really important actually. And now we can begin chrono boosting probes again. Get the probies out. No more units out of this gateway. We're just going to constantly produce out of this robotics facility. And if big gateway pressure comes in now, we're just going to abandon it. If it comes in a minute or so, probably still going to abandon it. As long as your opponent has devoted a lot of resources to shutting this down, it doesn't matter that much. We can just pull our probes back like this. Chrono boosting out units. Chrono boosting out the immortals and at least one observer. At 7 minutes we want a Twilight Council. So imagine if there was a Stargate all in and he hasn't taken a base. We know that he hasn't taken a base because what we should do if I was actually against a player is just before this finishes we make an hallucination scout like this. Hallucination scout, send it to the natural, check if there's a natural, and then check his tech choices. Checking for the natural is very important. If there was a Stargate all in, like I said, we're going to want to rally all our probes to the mineral line and keep our anti-air units here. Don't worry about mining from this too much, and just make a few units, not too many, and then get blink if the danger is imminent right now. If it's imminent later, if it's going to come later, then we're going to get a Twilight Council for Archons, because blink stalkers aren't that useful into the as we move into the mid game. Archons are more useful as we move into the mid game, and that's because they don't get shut down by mortals quite so much. So I've demonstrated that, hopefully to your liking. Now I'll show you an example of a game where I'm using it. Okay, so this is the game of choice. I'm just going to be fast forwarding straight to the builds actually doing things. You don't need to see the really easy opening stuff. Okay, so the very early gases on 15, just sort of normal. Zealots, you're going to see that being cancelled. In this game he's actually going for a really aggressive build on one base. I thought that'd be a nice thing to show you because, well, that's the problem that most people are going to have when doing this build, just staying alive after this sort of shit. DC's coming in, getting the force field out, preventing one of them coming in. I'll slow down the game now to normal speed. I got that immortal out. What I should have done. I was training the immortal, but I cancelled it to get an observer, which seems like a good idea. Trying to do more damage with the DTs, but now I'm trying to get my mortals out. Even though immortals don't seem too good against Zealots and Archons, which are going to be the composition out of my opponent, they just do a lot of damage and they're very durable, so better to have than just normal gateway units often. Okay, so after that we are slightly ahead in probes, which is really nice. And we have a base. over our opponent, which means we're ahead. And that's just because when that attack goes on, just constantly make probes off these two bases at the same time. Just don't stop making the probes, just get that observer out and fend the attack off with units out through gateways. That should be fine. And now here comes the big attack with an Archon. Would be hard to tell if you can actually take this on in the heat of the moment. I might have been able to with good micro, but I might have lost. I think I probably would have lost against this army value. It's favouring me, but only slightly, and an Archon's going to do a lot of damage. So I allow that to die, just to be absolutely cautious. He has made quite a few units here. He's not going to be able to push up the ramp. Getting the force fields down. Dealing with Archons like this, all you have to do is just focus down the Archon, and then force field the ramp once they're dead. Really easy. Archons can't push up the ramp really. That's why the Immortals help, because they've got good range and deal big hits. He's going to try and push up again, that's not going to work. Just telling you that for a fact. Another Immortal coming, I'm just constantly making Immortals, nothing out of these gateways, just Immortals, Immortals, Immortals. I'm just having silly numbers of Immortals. Going to try and bust up again. And I just force field the units, and yeah, that's not going to work. So in this situation, yep. Even if it was against the Stargate all in, Immortal's going to be really good against the gateway units, and then just make a few Stalkers on top of that. The same sort of, against most sort of all-ins, the response is the same, just constant production out of here. And now he's forced to expand, yep, expand. He does have a faster base now than me, but life's pretty bad for him, other than that. Just a few units. And quite a few Zealots. Units lost are going to be favouring me greatly. And it may seem weird having this many Immortals, but as long as you have like 6 or less, then it's not excessive, really. And I don't have to worry about anti-air in this situation, because I know he's gone for Templar. And I try and poke back. Make sure you have recall available when you poke out like this, because you could have charge, which he's actually getting right now here. And as long as you have charge, any sort of push out like this, just to check that your opponent's not taking too stupid and too silly number of bases, is fine. If you took a third at this point, you could easily shut that down. If he's taking a reasonable number of bases, which he is, I can just recall back, which I probably will. But actually, my army value is quite big, so I could actually try and do some damage. Before I do that, just check the bases. It's actually going for another DT. I do have that observer there because I am responsible. Hallucination a few Zealots, just because I'm funny. Actually helping quite a bit. But he's got very good force fields, and I'm not going to be able to do much damage here. I'm doing some damage though, to be fair. Really don't want to lose that mortal, so I might just back out even though my army's stronger. Does he have sentries? He's getting more sentries. No, he's getting more Zealots. It's looking bad for him. I swear I didn't win here, maybe I do. Losing an Immortal, that's really bad. Definitely want to get out now. Yes, supposed to never charge? Yeah, he has supposed to never charge. Get out, get out, get out, get out! No! Oh, poor guy, poor guy. Making a massive transfer now, units should be favouring me greatly. By 4? It's not too bad, I guess. Oh, it's because the DT's been up here, having a great time. Had the detection, but no units to really deal with it. That's a shame. First another just sitting on there. I'll speed the game up again. Just seeing the basic format of how I transition out here. And it's going to be, most of this is the same for any sort of all-in. You're going to get the Twilight Council about 7 minutes, then the Forge soon after, and that was a bit late in this game. Then the Templar Archives when your gas starts to get quite high. Gas gets high because you're only making very mineral heavy units like Immortals and Zealots. And then once you get the Templar Archives in, you have an influx of minerals, so you can get a base. And I move out again, we have a big number of Immortals, I think 6 should be the magic number, 6, yeah. Exact checking, that's a bit scary. Photon of Judge and everything. And a good concave. I'm gonna wait. Sacrificing Zealot just to get a good idea of what his army is. And recalling it. Getting Storm now. High Temp are very good against most sort of armies. Storm, at the very least, it's good against the Zealots. And you can feed back on the Mothership Core, as you can see there. And then that push out's gonna win me the game, because I have a base over him. And I'm moving into a fourth, I mean. And there we go, as you can see how that's gonna be so effective. He's doing a counter attack, but I don't care. Yeah, so the build, just so you can see it doesn't really care too much about the space. The idea is that if you get tech and you get an expansion, one of them's going to work out, and you're going to have an advantage in either of them. You're going to have even an advantage in economy or in tech. And as you can see in this game, I got the advantage in tech. I got the tons of immortals before my opponent, and that allowed me to be really aggressive and push my opponent back, and I could expand and catch up in economy. So yes, I hope you learnt something here and you take something away from it. Do try this out; it's very good. I've used it for must be over a year, like maybe even a year and a half. A year and a half might be pushing it, but it's a long time, and it's done pretty well for me. So yes, I'll see you next time. Goodbye.